Lunaverse, Episode 2, by Rainbow Doubledash. Family Matters, Chapter 2, School, Surrealism, and Sparkler. Of course, she had to make it through school first.
Can anybody tell me what the oldest city in Equestria is?
It was hard to concentrate when one was carrying around 100 bits at the bottom of one's school bag, after all.
Canterlot!
Not the least because Dinky Doo couldn't have it with her at her desk. She needed to leave it along the classroom's side wall, along with every pony else's bags.
Not quite. Canterlot is a very old city. In fact, it was the first city built in Equestria after the 3 pony tribes came together. But it's not the oldest city in Equestria.
Anybody could just take Dinky's bag if she wasn't careful. Of course, no pony had reason to do that. No pony knew that she had 100 silver bits at the bottom. It wasn't something that she advertised, after all. That would potentially spoil her secret, even if she was finally going to disclose the information to some pony today.
How does that work? If it's the first city built in Equestria, it has to be the oldest.
What was especially jarring was that, due to the positioning of the desk in Ponyville Schoolhouse, Dinky could not currently see her bag. There were several students in the way.
It is the second oldest, but after Equestria was founded, the oldest city was moved inside of it. In fact, this city has the distinction of being the oldest continuously inhabited city in the whole world.
No pony could have taken it, though. Dinky was watching the entire room like a hawk, and no pony in the way had moved enough to discreetly grab it.
Scootaloo, can you take a guess?
Unless a unicorn had telekinetically grabbed it.
Dinky wasn't the only unicorn in class, after all, and some of the unicorns in class were further along with their telekinetic practice than she was, thanks to usually having unicorn older siblings or parents to teach them.
Scootaloo, you're asleep, aren't you?
Again.
She's, just, resting her eyes.
Nice try, sweetie belle.
Dinky leaned back, trying to see if her bag was still there. She was not going to let a whole year of saving her bits go to waste. There was a bang, probably the sound of a hoof slamming the desk, which Dinky jumped slightly at, but otherwise didn't take notice of.
What? Scootaloo, please see me after class.
Wasn't sleeping. I was, just resting my eyes. Honest.
Oh, really? Then can you tell me what the oldest city in Equestria is?
Cloudvale! Can't see.
Dinky scooted backwards as nonchalantly as possible.
It's still there, right?
That's correct, Scootaloo.
Miss Charlie said, which sounded utterly bizarre coming from her mouth, and she knew it.
Was that a guess?
No. Scootaloo responded quickly. Charlie eyed Scootaloo, and after a moment, the Pegasus fairly looked down, dejected.
Yeah, it was. I'll see you in a few.
I know nobody has any reason to take it, but that's usually when the worst things happen. Right when you don't think they will.
Yes, you will. Dinky Doo, can you tell us why Cloudsdale was so important to early equestrian history?
There's 100 bits, and that's 50 weeks of work. I don't want it to be done just because somebody like maybe Sniz or Steels thought it'd be funny to hide my bag when they see that there's money in it and take it in.
Dinky Doo.
Just because no pony knows that there's 100 bits in my bag.
Dinky Doo!
I don't have 100 bits in my bag!
There was a bout of silence when some pony exclaimed that. Dinky blinked. Who else could have had that much money on them? Not Diamond Tiara or Silver Spoon. They didn't need to carry money around with them since their parents would just get anything like that. Oh, wait. That had been her. Dinky stared, wide-eyed at Miss Cheerilee, as Miss Cheerilee stared back, equally baffled by Dinky's exclamation.
I mean,
Dinky tried. She glanced at the chalkboard, saw the words Ancient History on it, and took a leap of faith.
The smooth?
Miss Cheerilee blinked a few times, her confusion seeming to grow.
That's correct,
she confirmed.
Among other things, Cloudsdale's position, high in the equestrian sky, allowed it to avoid many of the disasters that plagued early Equestria.
Sea-eyed Dinky.
That was a guess too, wasn't it?
Two.
Dinky asked. Has he guessed on an answer earlier without realizing?
I mean,
Dinky wanted to lie, but she held back the desire. Lying to Miss Cheerilee rarely worked, and Dinky knew lying was bad anyway.
yes, Miss Cheerilee.
Miss Cheerilee looked disappointed, even more so than when her eyes fell upon Dinky's desk, and the page of half-completed, mostly incorrect notes sat there, notes set atop a book titled Arithmetic, the first class of the day. Dinky hadn't been paying attention since then.
Dinky hated seeing that disappointed look. Please see me after.
Miss Cheerilee began, when the school bell rang out, a signal that class was over and lunch break and recess would begin. Technically, no pony was supposed to leave until Miss Cheerilee gave them permission, but the Earth Pony teacher knew better than to try to stop the classroom of Colt and Phillies from getting up on their writing desk and heading towards their school bags. Even the ponies sitting right next to the wall, though, weren't as fast as Dinky Doo was in reaching her school bag. Dinky let out another sigh, this one of massive relief, as she hefted her bag in her teeth and felt the comforting weight of 100 bits still pulling down. She turned to bring it with her over to Miss Cheerilee's desk, but found herself face to face with the better part of Foles in class.
Do you really have 100 bits in there?
Featherweight asked, eyeing Dinky's bag dubiously. Dinky let go of it with her teeth, instead of opting to hug it close to her barrel, holding on tightly with her front hooves.
There's just no way.
Silver Spoon objected. Her constant companion, Diamond Tiara, nodded in agreement.
Her mom's just a mail mare.
Dinky bristled at that.
My mama's not just a mail mare. Being a mail mare is a super important job, and
I never seen 100 bits before.
Archer exclaimed.
Can I see?
did you steal it?
Diamond Tiara asked.
I bet that's it.
Dinky eyes grew-eyed.
No, my mama has Miss Fluttershy take care of me on the weekends, so she has to work all day both days, and I help Miss Fluttershy with her animals, and she pays me.
Right.
Silver Spoon interrupted, rolling her eyes.
From what I hear, Fluttershy is even poorer than you.
No, she's not.
Dinky objected.
You were not poor. We've got each other.
Dinky Doo.
Cheerilee called from her desk. What Scootaloo was sitting in front of. Dinky idly wondered what the Pegasus had done this time.
Could you come over here, please? Everybody else, just please go and enjoy recess. No, Scootaloo, that doesn't mean you until I've talked to you.
Dull! One by one, the other Colts and Fillies of the class shuffled outside. Dinky made a point of ignoring them as she made her way over to Cheerilee's desk, bringing her bag with her as she did. Scootaloo eyed it.
Do you really have 100 bits? Now, Scootaloo, that's exactly what I want to talk to you about,
Miss Cheerilee said, before Dinky could respond. She looked at Dinky.
Both of you. I know that history class can be boring for some ponies, but it's important that you learn to focus.
Yes, Miss Cheerilee.
Dinky conferred, again hugging her bag close as she eyed Scootaloo. The orange Pegasus filly continued to alternate between looking at Miss Cheerilee and glancing at Dinky's bag, though she did at least nod to what her teacher had said. Dinky guessed that there were even nods as to whether or not Scootaloo had even actually heard Miss Cheerilee, or she just nodded at the appropriate time. Cheerilee let out a sigh as she mostly reached the same conclusion.
I'm giving you each extra homework for tonight, she said. I want a 2-page summary on the history of Equestria, from its founding until when the princess first arrived. All right?
But that's like a bazillion years! Scootaloo objected. Apparently, she was paying attention. What Dinky privately admitted to herself was surprising.
It's about 100, Scootaloo.
Same difference.
Miss Cheerilee looked more disappointed. Everything you should need is right in your history book, she assured the filly. And you two will make sure that you do this homework for the test in a few weeks. And you, especially, Scootaloo.
The Pegasus sighed.
Okay, she grumbled. All right, that's all. You can go outside now. I need to talk to Dinky Doo in private.
Scootaloo's wings and ears both perked up at that. as she turned once more to Dinky. Do you really have 100 bits? She asked again, her melancholy at her extra work forgotten, along with, most likely, the extra work she had to do. That'd be so cool. Dinky couldn't stop herself from nodding. Now that her secret was out, at least to all the ponies here, she might as well take pride in her accomplishment. Dinky, ladies and gentlemen, has failed the game of discs. Toot your own horn because no pony else will, as her mother said. Though Dinky understood, now, after trial and error, that the phrase did not refer to the actual horn on her forehead.
Uh-huh.
Dinky confirmed after a moment. Before she knew it, she had opened her school bag, removed the paper bag that had her lunch in it, and was showing off the contents to Scootaloo, while glancing in herself, just in case. She was happy and relieved to discover that, in fact, her bag still contained a few school books, and in its bottom are her 100 silver bits. The Pegasus filly's eyes widened at the sight. Wow! What do you have it for? How did you get it? What are you going to do with it? I can't even... Scootaloo, Miss Shirley interrupted. I need to talk to Dinky. If she wants to, she can tell you during recess. Scootaloo's head and wings sagged. Okay, she moaned, trotting over to her bag and bringing it with her outside the schoolhouse. Dinky waited for Scootaloo to leave before speaking.
Am I in trouble?
She asked. Charlie offered a slight grin. Well, for not paying attention in class, yes. But I think I can understand why, she said, getting up from behind her desk and moving around to Scootaloo's former school, current treasure school bag. Her smile dropped after a moment after, however. But I have to ask, where did you get this all?
Miss Fluttershy,
Dinky said.
She pays me 3 bits every weekend for helping her around the house, and I've been keeping and saving up 2 each week for a whole year now, secretly. But today I'm going to spend it all.
Charlie nodded. Your mother mentions that she leaves you on Fluttershy on the weekends, but Dinky, why did you bring it into school? Don't you think it'd be better, safer, to just ask your mother to take you into town? Dinky's eyes widened as he shook her head furiously.
Mama can't know why I saved all this up, not till her birthday anyway. I've been saving it all up for her to get her a birthday gift for the end of the week, but if she knows that it will ruin the surprise.
Charlie faltered a little at that. You've been saving up money for a whole year for that? She asked.
Yep.
Dinky's teacher apparently needed a moment to digest the fact, which confused Dinky. Why wouldn't she have saved up for her mother?
It's just last year I made her a card in arts and crafts, and it was nice and all, I guess, and she was really happy. But I'm pretty sure I misspelled a word or two, and my drawing was awful, and there was too much glitter, and Mama liked it, but I know that she does like that I made her a card and not the actual card. So this year I'm getting Mama a necklace, or bangles, or earrings, or something nice.
Charlie stared for a few moments more. I have a toothache, she noted. Dinky frowned.
Maybe you should go see Dr. Minuet,
she suggested, naming Ponyville's resident dentist. Maybe, Charlie confirmed, then shook her head to declare it. Nevertheless, Dinky, I wish you had told me about this at the beginning of the day. If you were so concerned about all this money that I was distracting you from class, I would have held on to it for you.
Oh,
Dinky said, scratching the back of her head with one hoof.
yeah, I guess I could have done that.
In fact, it probably would have made her life much easier, or at least prevented her from having extra homework to do tonight. Miss Shirley was an element of harmony, too, just like Dinky's mother, after all. Specifically, the element of laughter, and had helped Dinky's mother save Dinky from Corona, and incidentally saved the world in the process. She was completely trustworthy. It's all right, but would you like me to hold on to it for the rest of the day? Dinky nodded, passing her bag over to Miss Shirley, who took it easily into her teeth and put it in one of her desk's larger drawers, locking the drawer securely afterwards as Dinky wants. There we are. Just come to me after recess for any books you need.
Okay.
Dinky confirmed, as he grabbed the paper bag that contained her lunch from where she left it with her telekinesis. She learned only to grab a part of the delicate object, in this case the top of the bag, in order to avoid squishing whatever was inside of it.
Usually. And let me know if any pony is bothering you too much during recess.
Cheerily continued as the two made their way to the door.
Don't be surprised if you're suddenly the most popular filly at school.
Dinky nodded in confirmation as Cheerily opened the schoolhouse's door, and Dinky Doo and Cheerily found themselves looking straight into the eyes of the dozen or so colts and fillies of Ponyville's elementary school, who hadn't gone far from the schoolhouse, least of all since Scootaloo had come out and, from the looks of things, confirmed the existence of Dinky Doo's 100 silver bits. Dinky stared. The colts and fillies stared back.
I'm just going to have lunch inside.
Dinky decided, backing away a few hoof steps. She didn't get far.
Me too. Me three.
I want to eat cake inside too, Miss Cheerily.
'Cause the sun's too bright.
Yeah. Where did you get all those beats?
Yeah.
Dinky exclaimed as the stampede hit. Dinky Doo would have had to commit some sort of treason to get fired from her job. Ditzy. After 3 years of working at the post office, she might not have been a postmaster quite yet, but she was utterly indispensable. She knew every job it would cover for any pony. She knew every delivery route by heart, and she could find any missive, no matter how lost it was, in record time, and never failed to complete her route. The hours were long, yes, and sometimes seemingly random from week to week, and yes, the pay was awful. She had basically, in all other ways, had turned the post office of Ponyville into her own little Castle Doo, with Ponyville as her fiefdom and herself as the Duchess, and little could truly make her unhappy while she reigned. Her current task, delivering mail along the longest route in Ponyville, this following two very long, very tedious shifts of running the post office over the weekend, was making a very serious attempt at it, though.
As soon as I'm postmaster,
Ditzy grumbled as he trudged away from Fluttershy's, which had been the halfway point of her route.
soon as I am, every route in Ponyville is being redrawn, especially this one, who lays down a route that goes from the Everfree to Sweet Apple Acres.
Ditzy paused as he considered her own question.
Not a word, me.
She insisted, knowing full well what blonde-maned, gray-coated, well-eyed foal of a Pegasus had done so, as he convinced Postmaster Silver Script to add Fluttershy's cottage on this route, as it was Ditzy's typical one, and Fluttershy would accept mail and deliveries for no pony else. Well, it wasn't all bad, at least. She had a terribly short shift today, and tomorrow off. Tomorrow she could sleep in as late as she wanted. Dinky was more than old enough to make her own breakfast. When she was up, she could spend the whole day with Dinky Doo, do anything that her daughter wanted. Ditzy Doo's thoughts trailed off as she noticed some pony galloping up the road. Slowing her trot, she saw that it was, of all ponies, Trixie. The blue-coated unicorn, Ponyville's new night court representative, was dressed in her normal ensemble of a wizard's star-studded purple-hatted cape, but more importantly, her eyes were wide in slight panic. Ditzy Doo liked Trixie. For one thing, the unicorn seemed to have taken a shining to her daughter, and helped Dinky develop her necessary telekinesis, a task that Ditzy, being a Pegasus, was almost completely unable to help in. For another, Trixie was the element of magic, and had helped save the world alongside Ditzy and the other 4 ponies who had ventured to the Everfree Forest 2 months back. 2 months? And it really only been that long? In any event, seeing Trixie panic like this was enough to get Ditzy worried.
Trixie?
Ditzy asked, as the unicorn skidded to a halt in front of Ditzy Doo.
What's wrong?
Trixie tried to speak, but could only suck in air for a few moments. Unicorns were frail compared to the other 2 tries to begin with, and Trixie was frankly used to a life of relative comfort and luxury at Canterlot. She waved off Ditzy's concern with one hoof, however.
Nothing!
The unicorn swore when she couldn't speak.
Nothing. Everything's fine. Everything's in hoof. Hoof! Fluttershy has tickets, right?
Ditzy stared.
Trixie, you're normally a lot better at lying than this.
Lying? Trixie asked, her eyes wide.
What? Whoa. Ditzy confirmed. All right, I'm lying. But it's almost certainly nothing permanent as long as Fluttershy has tickets and I get them to lie her in.
Beneath her hat, Trixie's horn glowed as she closed her eyes. Soon.
Soon?
Ditzy echoed, concern mounting. Lyra was another element holder. In her case, loyalty.
Yes, tickets, Fluttershy! What did you do to Lyra? Probably nothing. But I don't really have time to explain it. Unless Fluttershy doesn't have tickets, then I guess I have time.
Ditzy's concern peaked at that.
Yes, she has tickets. Great!
Trixie said, getting ready to set off again.
Wait! You'll probably need me to talk to Fluttershy if... See, that assumes I'm asking permission, which I don't have time to do.
Trixie said as she took off at a gallop, horn glowing. As Ditzy watched, Trixie seemed to be rubbed out of reality by a blue glow, a glow itself fading from sight within moments. Don't worry, a voice, now without an obvious point of origin, called back. All I need are a few chicken feathers! Ditzy stared down at the road, blinking a few times. She raised the hoof to start chasing down Trixie, or at least tell Fluttershy of what Trixie was up to, but considered how that scenario would play out.
Fluttershy,
Ditzy said calmly as possible.
Trixie is stealing feathers.
What?
Fluttershy asked, looking into her chicken coop.
But I don't see her. That's because she's invisible. In fact, she could probably be standing right next to you right now.
Fluttershy exclaimed before she fell over, dead from fright. Ditzy Doo shook her head. Fluttershy didn't need to know that a pony that she was already irrationally afraid of, whom she believed hated her completely for unfounded reasons, could turn invisible. Sighing, Ditzy Doo turned back to her mail route. Trixie almost certainly wouldn't have done anything too horrible to Lyra, and Ditzy strongly suspected that whatever she had done involved spellcasting, something that Ditzy wouldn't have been able to offer much on her help in anyway. She finished her route as quickly as possible, then see what was going on.
At least that's my surrealism quota for today,
Ditzy supposed. Sorry. Dinky had picked up a second trail to complement the normal one on her dock. This second tail consisted of most of colts and fillies for school, following close behind her as she trotted from the schoolhouse at the end of the day. In fact, the only missing filly was Diamond Tiara, whose father had picked her up at the end of the school day, and Dinky had a feeling to be seeing her fairly soon. The remaining foals would have been swarming around her rather than following, but walking next to Dinky was Miss Cheerily, who decided that Dinky shouldn't be carrying 100 bits around on her own without a chaperone, something that, given the effort it was having on every pony in school, was probably a good idea. Not that it prevented them from trotting up alongside of her in groups of 2s and 3s and asking, of course.
So, what's it really for?
Featherweight asked.
I told you,
Dinky insisted.
it's a surprise for my mama.
But not all of it, Snips insisted. You're not going to spend all of it on just your mom, right?
I'm going to try. It's for my mama's birthday.
That's so sweet.
Twist, an earth pony who had difficulty with her S's and also wore thick glasses, exclaimed,
What are you going to get her? I bet your mom would look great with bangles. If you don't mind my advice, Dinky,
Miss Cheerily piped in,
I wouldn't get bangles. They look pretty, but they tend to shave fetlocks.
Okay.
Dinky conferred, happy for the advice. She certainly wasn't sure what her mother would want most, but eliminating something that would be uncomfortable to wear was a step in the right direction at least.
But really, all of it?
Scootaloo asked, wings buzzing as she galloped in front of Dinky, though she just kept moving so Dinky wouldn't have had to stop.
Think about what you could get with that, like a scooter.
I'd get a new scooter.
Did yours break again?
Sleebell asked her friend, calling out from behind Dinky Doo.
No, but if I could get 2 scooters, I bet I wouldn't have to wear them out so fast,
Scootaloo observed. By now, the impromptu field trip was reaching its destination. They had reached Ponyville's town center, and were on the same street as Amethyst Star's fine Jewlers set up. Surprisingly, despite it being a new building, it had been built to match the sterile rustic aesthetic of Ponyville, a 2-story building with a thatched roof. The front of the building was large glass windows, however, displaying a variety of finely wrought necklaces, bangles, earrings, horn-rings, and other jewelry, mostly wrought from silver and with all manner of gemstones set into most of them. The store was displaying price tags with daunting numbers on them, But the store also had a banner on it reading, Grand Opening, 25% off everything.
Miss Shirley, how much is that?
Dinky asked, pointing at the banner.
It means everything is reduced by a quarter in price.
The Earth Pony explained.
So if something had cost 100 bits, it now only costs 75, for example. That's actually pretty lucky, Dinky, because
now you can keep 25 bits for yourself, Scootaloo happily filled in.
Or,
Miss Shirley continued,
you could buy something that would normally cost about 130 bits for just 100 bits.
Dinky's eyes widened at that. Broad grins from her features.
That's great!
She exclaimed, putting her hose to the window as she looked over the jewelry in the window with that new tidbit of knowledge. She spotted a pair of earrings and a horn ring within that price range. The horn ring she couldn't really get her mother, of course, but the earrings, maybe. And who knows what else was inside?
Okay, class,
Charlie said, turning around to face all the foals.
I think we should leave Dinky Doo alone to make her decision, and I doubt Amethyst Star would like a whole classroom of foals sewn up without intending to buy something.
The foals all looked somewhat disappointed in that, but began breaking up, leaving to head to their respective homes. Scootaloo lingered a moment more, before, however, along with Sweetbelle.
I guess it is pretty nice,
what you're doing for your mom. The filly admitted after a moment. I still want a new scooter or something.
Yeah, but this is for Mama's birthday,
Dinky said.
It's important.
I guess, Scootaloo repeated, as she and Sweetbelle turned around to walk off. See you tomorrow! Dinky waved goodbye, then turned to look to Miss Shirley.
Okay,
She said.
Thanks, Miss Shirley.
Any time, Dinky, Shirley responded. Would you like me to come in with you and help you decide?
Dinky thought for a moment, then shook her head.
No, thank you. I think I want to decide for myself.
I can understand that. I'm sure whatever your pick, your mother will love it.
Dinky nodded at that, though inwardly she was grinning.
Okay, see you tomorrow, Miss Shirley.
Tomorrow, Shirley confirmed, turning around and trotting off. Dinky, meanwhile, had turned back to the door. She felt like she was standing at the edge of a lake that she knew was going to be cold. But she was going to jump in anyway.
Here we go.
Dinky had earlier denied that she and her mother were poor, but, well, that had been an impulsive lie. She knew that money was tight, that they couldn't afford to waste it, and all other sorts of other things that her mother said to her that really meant they were poor, or at least had been prior to Ditzy Doo being rewarded for saving the world. Dinky didn't know exactly where they were now, but she did know that her mother's penchant for being careful with money hadn't disappeared just because money wasn't as tight as it had been. Dinky was used to her mother browsing in the market, always seeking out the best deals, and never buying something until she confirmed it was definitely what she wanted. Therefore, Dinky had not been expecting to walk into Amethyst Star's fine jewelers and immediately set eyes upon the perfect birthday present for her mother. But lo and behold, there it was. The inside of the shop was set up with a U-shaped trio of display cases, with the opening of the U being the wall with the door. And straight across from the door, in the exact center of that display case, right at Dinky Doo's eye level, there it was. A necklace, with a bright, silver, almost white, thin chain, which held a pendant and a yellow gem on it, cut to be 8-sided, which was either the same color as her mother's eyes, or so close that Dinky couldn't tell the difference. Price, 127 bits. But Miss Shirley had said, with everything reduced by 1/4 the price, that she could buy something that normally cost 130 bits. So Dinky would even have bits to spare. Not quite enough to buy a scooter, but that was alright since Dinky didn't want a scooter anyway. Dinky had only just finished opening the door, but only heard the bell ring, but somehow Dinky knew that necklace was going to be what she got for her mother, regardless of what else was in the store that she could afford.
Hello, and welcome to...
A bright, cheerful voice began behind the display case as Dinky finished walking in. Dinky looked and saw a purple-coated, purple-maned unicorn, with a trio of brilliantly cut gemstones as a cutie mark, standing there. On the other side of the display case was an earth-stone stallion wearing a jacket and tie. Standing next to him, a certain pink-coated filly, Diamond Tiara, and the stallion was her father, Filthy Rich. Those two looked surprised to see Dinky. The unicorn behind the counter, however, was probably Amethyst Star herself. Had a look passed over her face on seeing Dinky Doo that didn't take Dinky long to recognize. Anger, or something even beyond that, firmly directed at the filly. Dinky backed up in fright at the intensity, but even as she did, the unicorn shook her head, and the look disappeared, replaced by one of surprise at her own emotion and regret.
I'm sorry,
The unicorn said, slowly and non-threateningly walking around from the display case, but she didn't get any closer to Dinky.
I'm sorry. It's just that you look like some pony
She shook her head again.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to frighten you.
Dinky blinked a few times before realizing she had a hoof raised, ready to bolt away in fright. Slowly, she set it back onto the ground.
Okay.
She said softly,
What's your name?
Dinky.
Well, Dinky, I'm Amethyst Star, but you can call me Sparkler if you like. I know every pony I know does.
Dinky just nodded.
So, why did you come here?
Amethyst Star asked.
Are you lost?
Dinky took a few more moments to take in Amethyst Star. She didn't look angry anymore. In fact, she looked ashamed that she had gotten angry at Dinky for no good reason. It seemed to be nice now. Cautiously, Dinky took a few steps forward and shook her head, summoning up her enthusiasm again. Admittedly, it wasn't very hard.
No, I'm here to buy something.
There was a snort, and Dinky was reminded that she and Amethyst wasn't alone in the building. Glancing, she saw Diamond Tiara rolling her eyes.
Right,
the filly said.
I'll believe that you have 100 bits when I see them with my own eyes.
Still recovering from the adrenaline of Amethyst Star's shock, Dinky decided that she had just about enough of Diamond Tiara.
Okay.
She exclaimed, using her telekinesis to lift the bag off her neck and grasping the bomb in her hose. Turning it over, a few books and papers came spilling out. But more importantly, so did 100 silver bits, each stamped with the image of the Princess Tonight on one side and the equestrian coat of arms on the other. Many of them were old, dirty, or worn, but there was no denying the pleasant sound of 100 silver coins spilling out onto the floor. Dinky realized that she had done only after she smiled triumphantly at the sight of Diamond Tiara's jaw dropping. She blinked a few times rapidly as well, looking quickly to Amethyst Star and wondering if she managed to make the much older and larger and scarier unicorn angry again just by making a mess of her floor. Instead, however, she noticed that Amethyst Star, Sparkler, had a hoof to her mouth, hiding an amused chuckle at Dinky's response to Diamond Tiara's challenge. After a moment, her horn glowed lavender, almost the same color as Dinky's own roar, in fact, as he easily hefted up the 100 coins, books, and papers off the ground telekinetically, and slid them all back into Dinky's bag.
Okay, Dinky,
Sparkler, as she wanted Dinky to call her, said.
Let me finish up with Mr. Rich here, and then I can see how we can help you, all right?
Dinky suppressed a sigh of relief. She decided, as scary as Sparkler had seemed at first, it was definitely just an accident on the other unicorn's fault. She hadn't meant it, and she seemed honestly sorry. She just seemed nice in general.
Okay.
She responded.